This show is brought to you by you. Yes, you, the listener. Thank you so much for listening to us, and thank you for all the patrons that support our Battlefield adventure. Wait for the middle of the show to know more about our Patreon, or just go to patreon.com/TheLankySoldier. Enjoy the show. And this what people don't realize. What people don't realize what I haven't seen anyone talk about this. DICE is not in charge of Battlefield. This next game, it's not a DICE game. DICE is just doing the multiplayer. Sure, that's the main part of a Battlefield game, that they're not in charge. Byron Beatty is. Vin Zampella is. Vin Zampella and Byron Beatty. These are the figureheads. These are the spokesmen.
Look, I'm gonna stop you before you get too much further in, because I know exactly where you're going with this. The problem with this is there have been some other things that have just recently happened in the gaming industry that could probably set a precedent that would change what you're trying to infer might be coming completely on its ass and on its head forever.
Ladies and gentlemen, smugglers and casuals, welcome to Battlefield 1 Podcast, the ultimate podcast about Battlefield that will kiss you on the forehead before you fall asleep and remind you that Battlefield will be great again. My name is Tom, also known as the Lanky Soldier, your beautiful host for this show, and I'm being joined by the Florida's reject himself, Ray Edmonds. How you doing, Ray?
Is it gonna bring you a warm glass of milk too at 2 in the morning?
Of course, they want a piece of cookie with that too.
Oh man, that was great.
I think it's one of the best intros so far I had on this bloody podcast.
Man, credit where it's due. Good stuff there. No, we're doing good. My apologies for how I sound and my occasional coughing more so than usual. The air mass is drying out down here in the grand penis of the United States, because suddenly the state has realized, we're getting closer to fall, so now we have to be cooler and drier, and my sinuses are like all the mucus in the world. So my apologies for sounding nasally.
Yeah, so we talk about Battlefield on this podcast, and originally we were thinking doing a Patreon episode. We were thinking like recording a Patreon, but I realized, well, Battlefield news dropped. We already done our Battlefield 1 podcast schedule for this month, but because all the random news that's dropped and loads of news dropped, I was thinking like, well, let's talk about Battlefield. Let's do an extra episode instead of doing a Patreon one. We can do a Patreon one at the end of the month. And I just like, yeah, well, our impressions are fresh and everything. I'm like, this is the perfect time to talk about it, because I don't think anything is gonna come out in the next month. I mean, you never know, of course. They drop these new, Battlefield news randomly. But I just like, no, while it's fresh, I think we should talk about it and have some sort of conversations about that. That's what I was thinking. So Patreon.
Not to mention, it's that time of year where the news is usually really like lull and dull anyway for anything, because it's like we just started a quarter up. I think, hang on here, September, October, November, December. No, actually we're like halfway through third quarter. So like it's a real lull point right now. Nobody's really putting any real big news drops out there. So they're at like shareholder meetings, which is pretty much where a lot of what we're about to talk about came from. Was pretty much just a shareholder call at the end of the day. But that being said, I mean, we're still obligated in order to tell yous about it, because not everybody follows that businessy bureaucratic crap. I hate doing it, but we do it because we love it and we love you guys. So off we go.
I think the best episodes I ever do when we actually being spontaneous, if you ask me, because we actually speak from our hearts, instead of like, well, okay, what's been happening for the last month? Oh, that happened. I guess we can talk about that. Yeah. So I decided, you know what, let's be spontaneous and so on. So before we continue, let me just tell you, we have time codes. So if you don't want to listen to the whole thing, you use the time codes in the description, or click on your... I know on Spotify you can click which part of the podcast you want to listen, so I know that works.
Which is actually quite badass. I like that. I also like the transcript, the AI transcript feature. Now it doesn't like your accent sometimes, and it makes you
I did notice
like
that.
Yeah, really weird shit. But
I did notice that the AI doesn't like my accent sometimes. It's kind of weird.
It does not like accent sometimes. So like there was a couple of times where it was like, we're talking about Battlefield, and AI is like Batfield, and I'm like, what the fuck? That's not what we're on about here, you fucking cunt.
It might as well be Battlefield, Can't copyright that, right? Well, if we
Yeah,
copyright
no, for real.
Battlefield.
Let's not get into copyrights right now. I'm still pretty salty about some other news that came out, which is
we'll talk about. So we also have a Google Forms document. So if you want to give us feedback, you don't have a social media account, and you don't want to email us, I understand that. Go to the description wherever you listen to the podcast, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, wherever. Just click on the description. Go to the Google Forms document that is in the description. Click on it. Just start writing your feedback. Negative, positive, insults, compliments, whatever they may be. Just give us the feedback.
Pancake recipes.
Yeah, pancake recipes.
Pancake and cake recipes. I mean, we're down for that.
Yep. Write anything you want in that Google Forms document because it's the best way to contact us directly without any, what's the word I'm looking for? Friction.
There you go.
Yeah. And
you just type and press the save button and it's there.
Yeah. And not even save, just percent. And we have a Patreon. I mean, if you're listening this on the public channels, on Spotify, Amazon Music, and so on. So we have a Patreon, and you probably heard the ad about the Patreon, and I'm not going to talk much about it, but because...
That's what the ads are for.
Yeah, the ads, so yeah. But I have to mention that we do some amazing stuff on Patreon, and you should subscribe. Patreon.com/TheLinkerSoldier. And we're probably going to talk about this, in more in-depth conversation, more like a couple of week afterthoughts. Maybe we'll miss something for this. Oh my god, that's a loud plane. Like, oh my god, living in London. But if you listen to this podcast for a while, you know how much I complain about planes, because they're loud. Anyway, so we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TheLinkerSoldier. So a week later, if we're gonna miss something on this episode, we're probably gonna mention on the Patreon episode, because, new things will come up.
That's how it goes.
Yeah, new things will come out. Maybe we'll remember something. Maybe I missed something in the notes and so on. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, before we continue with the Battlefield stuff, I just want to mention that it was really nice to have Chemo on the last episode. Just him coming over and just talk about just random stuff. And I did include...
I think that's some of the most fun that we've had doing an episode in a hot minute, and it was very well needed.
Yeah, and I actually tagged Old Dice LA developers, saying, "Hey, you're invited. Anytime, any day." I know David Sirlin liked the tweet. Ryan Duffin, the animator, also is like, "I haven't talked about anything about Battlefield for ages. I'm so rusty." I'm like, "Oh, don't worry. For the 80-70% of the episode, we literally talked about game development and some other random shit that has nothing to do with Battlefield. So don't you worry. Ignore the name." He's like, "Oh, okay, maybe one day then." So maybe we can get Ryan Duffin on the podcast. Yo, I haven't seen.
I would love to get Ryan on the podcast because, he's, man, he is such a good guy and he's such a knowledgeable guy and he's and his animations, you can tell Ryan Duffin Reload animation. Like the man is an absolute artist. Yes, I would love to get him on. Anybody else from the old team too that would be willing in order to come hang out and talk to us and talk about some of the older stuff. Like even folks that we don't know. I mean, if you had anything to do with it and it's verifiable, by all means, I mean, get in contact with us. We would love to fucking sit down and have a conversation with you. Absolutely would love to.
Yeah, and it's I have the contact details in the description, so you can just send an email or whatever, or follow our socials and contact us there. It's fine. It's not hard to contact us. It's not hard to to find us somewhere.
Yeah, no, we're not very hard to find. I mean, you could literally throw up a signal flare and we'll still see that shit.
Yeah. But yeah, I love having Kimo on the podcast. I'm glad he came in, and also I just want to mention this. I think I'm done promoting the podcast on the Battlefield subreddit, the actual Battlefield subreddit. I like they for example. So when we had Westy on, and I tried to promote the podcast.
I'm sure that got down.
Yeah, I got chat tons like, "Oh, hey, Westy, haven't played Battlefield for God knows how long." Okay, but when someone else shared what Westy thought about the new Battlefield game, everyone are upvoting. So I don't know. I'm confused about that place. Maybe because they hate when people promote themselves. Maybe that's the problem. But I'm like, but if someone else posts Westy's opinion about the next Battlefield game, isn't that basically the same? You promoting him?
I mean, are you really surprised by that?
Sorry, I didn't mean to be yawning mid-sentence, but I mean, are you really surprised by that reaction? Because think about it. Where the hell did everybody from the Battlefield forums go when they shut down?
Yeah, okay, good point. Good
You
point.
go.
Good point.
So I mean, is it really surprising that the Battlefield subreddit, and if you're offended by this, then maybe do something in order to change that. Is it really a surprise that the Battlefield subreddit is a fucking cesspit? And I'll say that blatantly, clearly. Have at me in the comment sections, fuckers, and prove me right. You guys are. It's a fucking cesspit there.
And there
can be good feedback. There can be good feedback, and there can be good conversations held there. I've seen it happen, but it's so rare. It's like, why bother?
Mm-hmm.
And I love Reddit too. Don't get me wrong. I have nothing against Reddit, but like that for some reason the Battlefield subreddit is just like, ugh.
It's also, I did share the last episode with Chemo. It's like, hey, look, a DICE developer. I literally didn't say anything. Listen, we had an interview with a DICE developer. That's it. That was basically the post. Download it. Okay. Sure. Whatever. You lost. Go complain about Battle Royale. Oh my god. Ray, as I was reading the subreddit just to see what's the temperature in the room regarding all these, news and everything. It's just everyone just complaining. Oh, why they're making a battle royale? Just make a great Battlefield game and so on. I'm like, okay, you guys are still living 2010s. Okay, I can see that.
But at the same time, I mean, you look at the announcement we're about to talk about. Like that era got brought up specifically. So I mean, is it really that bad? Is it really, you know what I mean? Is it really?
Yeah, is it really?
Because there's no arguing there. It is flat out matter of fact. The best era, the heyday of this entire franchise was Battlefield 3 to Battlefield 4. Now some argue more into 3 and more into 4. That's why I personally I look at those two games and I go, that's the height of the franchise. Period, point blank, end of story. So for a lot of people to still be stuck in that era, I get it, because in a way we are too. We still maintain to this day that 3 was a pinnacle in its own right, 4 was the pinnacle in its own right, and 1 was just, they tried something and it wasn't bad, but it didn't have the same punch. You know what I mean? I mean, don't get me wrong. Battlefield 1 had some charm to it, like Grand Operations. I loved that game mode. That long format conquest, rush style game mode. I loved it. I absolutely adored that. But at the end of the day, like, the setting was very limiting as far as what they could do. Yes, it was very unique and cool, and it's not something that anybody had really done. Nobody really ever touched World War I. So I give BF1 credit where credit's due. But to go to BF5, holy shit.
Or Battlefield 2042.
And then to 2042 after that. Yeah, like, holy shit. What the hell? You guys are all over the map now. You're all over the place. So to have them say that, okay, we need to get back to roots. We need to get back to what worked. We need to get back to what the fan base actually wants. Like, I look at that and go, okay, yeah, finally shut up. Stop listening to the damn shareholders, because the shareholders are not players, and do what this franchise needs to be done. Just do it.
Yep. Alright, so let's talk about the next Battlefield game. So, recently, out of nowhere, well, it's not maybe now out of nowhere, because EA had an investors Day, which is an annual event for investors to gather around and see what EA's been doing or what they're gonna be promising for the next year. So that was that. So there was an article from IGN, exclusive IGN article, that basically dropped before the Investor Day that was happening on Wednesday. This article dropped on no, okay. So Investor Day happened on Tuesday, the article dropped on Monday. And it was an interview with Vince Zampella. I'm kind of surprised he's still at EA, because I was actually predicting, was it maybe March, May, that he's gonna leave, but apparently he's still around, so I guess all is good so far. So there's an interview with Vince Zampella about the next Battlefield game. So they shared the concept art for the next game, and just quick mention of the concept art. I'm just gonna say this: I like the vibes. It reminds me of Battlefield 1, but modern. Because when it comes to presentation, Battlefield 1 was really fantastic in terms of presentation. At the presentation of the game was fantastic. And this concept art that you shared, which is that with the name Battlefield in the middle, and you have like a location in the background with Apaches and boats and everything, forest fire. I dig the vibes. I like the color scheme. I really dig the color scheme. And it reminds me of Battlefield 1, placed in a modern setting, and I dig that. I personally like that. Like, it gives me good vibes. So I want to believe just because of this, we're gonna have a good game in the future. I mean, sure, this is just concept art. Probably used a lot of AI here, because a lot of people mentioned that, and we'll talk about that in later. But yeah, I like the concept art. Any opinions about the concept art?
I mean, to me, it's the same basic quote unquote announcement concept art that we've kind of been getting for a hot minute now. And I'm not saying that in order to knock it. What I'm saying is it's for them to be trying to put any kind of artwork or anything out right now at this stage. It's kind of stupid because a lot of things can change between here and there. So I'm not putting any stock of faith or analysis or anything that I'm going to solidify based on this concept art whatsoever. Because to me, and again, not to knock it and not to knock anybody's work, what this just looks like is just literally a Windows wartime background wallpaper with the Battlefield logo on it, and that's it. It's not really telling me anything. What it's saying is here's a thing. That's it. I can't really look at that picture and go, oh, well, it's 100% going to be set in France or Italy or something, because, the architecture kind of looks European, but, that could change.
So apparently it was confirmed by famous leaker Tom Henderson that it's going to be Gibraltar. So, sure. I was low-key thinking maybe it's Croatia, because if it's Croatia, I would like to get make my girlfriend play look, this is Croatia, because she's from Croatia. So a map in Croatia.
We're gonna destroy your home.
yeah, let's bomb the shit out of it.
Where's your childhood house? Let's go destroy it.
Oh, no, they will not do those. But yeah, so this article came out, and it's basically PR. It's a PR piece. Don't get me wrong. This is just PR. But everything Vince Zampella said in this article was the correct thing to say at this moment. When it comes to PR, I have to give it to Vince Zampella. He knows how to deliver good PR. Doesn't mean the game will be good. Doesn't mean the game will be amazing. But the signs, at least the PR's portion of this game so far, is looking good. So what they mentioned so far, what the next Battlefield game will be, is basically be a modern setting. Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 was mentioned a lot. And it's gonna be all-out warfare, so you have your air vehicles, land vehicles, and sea, like your boats and everything, that too. Apparently, they mentioned that.
Now, something I read in there also speculate. Now, this is probably just IGN speculating that there's going to be ship-to-ship warfare involved as well. Probably something not quite akin to World of Warships, but probably something similar to that, knowing how Battlefield likes to kind of blur the lines between milsim and arcade. Do I think this concept is good? Kinda, because I did like Carrier Assault. I don't care who you are. I kind of like that game mode. It had its faults. It wasn't perfect. It sure as shit wasn't It wasn't Titan Assault, but it was BF4's version of it, and it worked. It was pretty fun. What I hated was, it needed more. You needed the ability to move the damn boat. There should have been a squad or something put in charge of it in order to handle defenses and internal automated defenses, especially with commander mode and all that other stuff. There could have been so much more to it. So I'm not knocking the concept, and I'm not knocking it for what it is. I just hope that if they do implement something like ship-to-ship combat, it's not just I walk up to the hull of a warship and press E in order to enter the bridge immediately. I want the ability to actually climb on deck and mow through this ship and kick an enemy out of it and take it over. That would be pretty freaking badass, in my opinion.
I'm trying to remember how it worked in Battlefield 1. Was it was it like you spawn the ship and you always in the ship?
Yeah, you spun. It was treated
Because
like
I
a
don't
vehicle.
remember.
Yeah, it was
Because I don't
treated like a
remember.
vehicle.
Okay. So it
And I
was
didn't.
just
And don't get me wrong. I mean, it wasn't bad, but I just didn't like it. I didn't like the fact that you could. Because in my honest opinion, you should have been. Like how tanks, you could stand on the top of a tank and drive around a map with an entire squad in the tank. You could fit 2 squads on a tank if you played your cards right. You know what I mean? You couldn't do that with the boats in Battlefield 1, and I think that was a real big, negative for me on that. It's like, well, what's the point? Like, nobody can jump on it. I can't haul them across, and I can't have people with, the anti-air launcher standing on the bow, knocking down planes that are trying to, would be real, naval-type combat for that. That would have been great if that, they could have done that, but they didn't, for whatever reason. So if they do that, I really sincerely hope for this iteration something like that can be done. Now I can hear everybody pissing and moaning and screaming, going, "Oh, well, that's just going to be so unbalanced because of jets and all this." Well, that's why you let the squad mates have the ability to stand on deck with an anti-air missile launcher. I mean, that's no different than real life, no?
yeah.
Let them run from one minigun to another minigun, or an anti-air cannon to an anti-air cannon. Just don't let it be like you press a button and you swap seats, because that's kind of really silly to me. It kind of breaks my immersion.
I hope not, because it does sound goofy in a sense. But at the same time, you have to kind of make it arcadey, but anyway, I hope there's gonna be deep, gameplay designers will figure out how to make it this more interesting and fun, that it's not boring, but fun at the same time. So there was a mention of 64 players. They're scalping 128 players, which is lovely. Yeah, well done. And to read his quote, I quote what he said. Yeah, 128 player. It did make it more fun? Question mark. Like, doing the number for the sake of number doesn't make any sense. What Kimo said on the last podcast, funny enough.
Hubris is a bitch, isn't it?
We're testing everything around what's the most fun. Like you said, the maps, once they get to a certain scale, become different. It's different play space, and I think you have to design around that. We are designing something that is more akin to the previous Battlefields. I rather have a nice, dense, really nice, well-designed play space. Some of them are really good. I can't wait for you to see them. And
cool.
As I was reading this quote, I'm so happy they realized, hey, 128 players is dumb. I'm glad they realized that. But I'm kind of worried now, and I think I mentioned that in my video when I was going through this news. I'm kind of worried that some of the map, well, not some of the map, majority of the maps could be really claustrophobic, because, it sounds good on paper, but what if out of the 10 maps there's 5 metros? You see what I mean? You have dense map for 64 players, but I don't want to play, metros. I hope that's not the case. I hope.
Here's what I would think they should do. And if anybody anybody on that team is paying attention, listen up. I mean, God willing. Infantry combat has come pretty much as far as it could possibly come, as far as first-person shooters go. Let's actually look at this in brass taxes, okay? The real biggest innovation that's hit for FPS here as of late was Omni movement from fucking COD, okay? Other than that, I mean, fine-tuning ballistics, making weaponry better and more realistic, yeah, that's kind of made a bit of progression. But overall, there really hasn't been that huge innovations that have been implemented as far as, FPS infantry combat go. So what I would say is take all the elements from Battlefield 4 and 3 that worked great for infantry, squad play, ammo resupplies, revives, med bags, deployable cover, things that encourage team play, things that can help your squad mates and your team out. Stick with that formula because it works well for infantry. Now, when we go into vehicle combat, that's where I think they need to start taking some more risks as far as innovative stuff. Like doing stuff, like I said, with the battleships, where you can run around on the deck and go from gun to gun, or if you want to just stand on deck and pop shots, or if you want to be a deck sniper, God willing, gaming grandpa would have a blast with that. Are you kidding me? That man could lay down on a deck of a naval warship that's pacing around a map, and that dude's just popping headshots off from thousands of meters out. Let's do it. Jet combat, air-to-air combat, helicopter carrier, or helicopter combat. Let us have the not the Hueys. Let us have the big birds back, and let us not just be stuck in a seat. Let us be able to move around in the damn thing. Games have been doing this for a hot minute. Let that thing be a thing. Let's get rid of the hot seat mechanic.
Yeah, I just hope it's not, like I said, I hope it's not gonna be like claustrophobic maps. That's my fear. Because, for example, speaking of Call of Duty, the reason I did not enjoy Black Ops 6 beta that much is because the maps.
Because the maps were so damn small.
Yeah.
It's like Rust. Nothing but Rust. All Rust. Rust, all Rust.
And people say, well, this is Black Ops, it's always been like that. I mean, no, there's loads of good maps from all Black Ops games that were good. For example, I hated Black Ops Cold War, but the maps were not the problem, with that game. And this game is just like, I call it shipment rot, because like people just want to play shipment non-stop so they can just like level up the weapons or get chaos non-stop. I'm like, really? There's no thinking, no deep design and everything. It's just like that's why I call it shipment rot. So I'm worried that this is not gonna be the same thing with the new Battlefield game. And speaking of Battlefield and Call of Duty, they talked about Call of Duty, like, oh, how you feel about the competition and everything. So can Battlefield outsell Call of Duty? Okay, I can answer this question right now. No, it won't. Under no circumstances. The best Battlefield game, the best, I don't know. Okay, so when Battlefield was at its peak, and Call of Duty was at its lowest, it's still not outsold Call of Duty. I'm just gonna mention that, which is Battlefield 1 and Infinite Warfare. Infinite Warfare probably the most hated Call of Duty to date.
Oh my god! I remember all of the memes and everything back then, and it's true. It's 100% true, because that was the lowest point in Call of Duty, and if you look back upon the history, see, they turned their shit around after that. Like they started doing good, but I think at the same time they started getting talent from their competition, and that kind of helped them turn around.
Yeah, so it's not gonna sell Call of Duty for obvious reasons. So here's a quote that he said: "If you look at the best Battlefields have outsold some Call of Duties and other way around and back and forth." It's a very difficult quote to read, because I think he just was speaking and the reporter just like wrote everything word by word. So I think absolutely he thinks that he can outsell Call of Duty. What else we said here? Why this incomplete? Yeah, okay. IGN mentions that Infinite Warfare still outsold Battlefield 1. He says, okay, we're competing, but not directly, but always. We're not looking to take down Call of Duty. We're making something that's different, and we're making something that's us. But yeah, it definitely has the possibility. So I'm kind of glad he said, like, yeah, I understand that Call of Duty is there, but we're making something that is us, and I appreciate that. I do appreciate that he says, like, hey, if it happens, it happens. But we're making something that we want to make. And I'm kind of glad.
Basically, what he's saying is we're gonna make our product. We're gonna make our product to do our thing, but we're not making our product in order to compete with them anymore. Which, yeah, I too applaud the mentality, because I think that was another thing that kind of like dragged this franchise down, was fucking Call of Duty envy. That it needed to stop. Like, even we had seen it and said it too, but like, not as blatantly obvious and as much, because we weren't 100% sure it was you know what I mean. Nowadays, you can look at it and go, what? I mean, look at 2042. In some ways, you could argue that 2042 is trying so hard to be 164 or 128 player COD specialists per. You know what I mean? If you would take the Battlefield name off of that game and slap Call of Duty on it, I would.
I remember when the 128 player thing was getting leaked. Before the announcement of Battlefield 2042, I was criticizing. Actually, I was literally criticizing, like, I don't think increasing the player number is the best thing to do. And we all knew why they increased the player number. Because Call of Duty Warzone. Call of Duty Warzone.
Nobody else had done it. We have to have we have to have the bigger. It was chest thumping, and all of the chest puffing got them where.
Yeah, so
Here.
Call of Duty Warzone, when it came out, had 150 Battle Royale, the biggest Battle Royale from all the competition. PUBG had 100, Fortnite has 100, and Call of Duty drops with 150. And then you hear Battlefield like, okay, we need to, like, we're increasing the conquest matches to 128. Yeah, is it because the competition is doing that, or is it because you want to increase it? And this was because the competition was doing it, so they kind of want to keep up.
I
So
think on the other side of the coin too, exactly how much headspace does Battlefield have in Call of Duty's head? Probably none.
no, but Call of Duty doesn't think of what Battlefield.
you. You don't exist to me. It's
No,
not even a
no.
competition. But I mean, and that's true. And in that way, because Call of Duty stopped doing that. Because I mean, at one point or another, they kind of were. They were like, we're better than you. It's tit for tat, stupid tribalism shit. But nowadays, it's like Call of Duty doesn't even acknowledge Battlefield at all.
Why would they?
And that's a good thing. It needs to be that way.
And we'll talk about that later, but Battlefield can compete with Call of Duty in other forms, but
it just needs to not try to. It just needs to do its thing.
So,
and
like I
will
said,
do on its own.
Like I said, Vince Zampella is really good at PR. What he said in this article is fantastic from a PR point of view. He literally said the right things. Literally, 64 players, no specialist, classes are back. We haven't mentioned that classes are coming back. Classes are coming back. 64 players, 4 studios working. They're still expanding the Battlefield universe. Speaking of Battlefield universe, you should listen to the Patreon episode where we talked about Battlefield universe. I think it's free on the Spotify section of Battlefield 1 podcast. But I don't think it's free on Patreon, but I need to double check. Anyway, we talked about the Battlefield universe. It was like an hour conversation about this, and you should listen to that. But anyway, he said the right things.
And I'm dead serious. I better be getting some phone calls in order to voice some characters, yo. I better be getting some phone calls.
Yeah, so he said the right things, and Battlefield 3 was mentioned, Battlefield 4 was mentioned, saying this was basically the best era, and so on. He said the right things. And when it comes to like, will we compete with Call of Duty? We'll focus on being ourselves, and from there we'll see how it goes. I like that. I like that they literally acknowledge, like, listen, we try to be our own thing now, and we're trying to be Battlefield. We're not trying to be Call of Battlefield or something else. I'm glad they acknowledged and realized, listen, we kind of need to go back to the, what made Battlefield great in the first place, what made Battlefield memorable. And I'm glad they actually crossed that point and realized. And yeah, I mean, from this article, he said the right things. He literally said the right things, and I'm glad Vince Zampella is in charge because it looks like he understands. At least from the PR point of view. Will the game be good? We don't know. But so far, positive signs. Positive signs. Is that? Oh yeah, fuck. He mentioned about the community program. Let's talk about that quickly. So, in the article, he mentioned that they're planning to launch some sort of community program next year, where some sort of testing will be happening. And whatever. And me, you, and anyone else thinking, this is basically CTE. They're bringing back CTE. And from the sound of it, it sounds like the CTE will be available before the game launches. So that's interesting. I remember we had...
I just really hope they don't pull some bullshit and go, it's community testing environment, but it's not CTE. We're not calling it CTE, but it's community testing. But it's not CTE. But we're not calling it, but it's community. You know what I mean? I really sincerely hope they don't pull some bullshit like that, because that would be really disrespectful to everybody who did the BF4 CTE and tried like hell for the BF1 CTE. So by all means, please don't do that shit.
Yeah, we'll see. Hey there, I hope you're enjoying the discussion that we're having. Like I said at the start of the episode, I will tell you all about our amazing Patreon that is helping us keeping the show going. Patreon.com/TheLankySoldier.
Some Patreon exclusiveness. We here at Patreon would love
You sound like every nerd in all the 90s TV shows.
By becoming a patron, you're not only supporting the show, but you're also getting a lot of content back. First up, you'll get ad-free early access to all our future episodes. You can already listen to our previous episodes ad-free by just joining the Patreon for free. That's right, no more waiting, no more interruptions, just pure, unfiltered Battlefield content straight to your ears before anyone else gets to hear it. Well, of course, that's not all. We're also giving you a behind-the-scenes look at what goes into making Battlefield 1 podcast and other shows we make, from planning sessions to recording mishaps, and everything in between. You'll get an insider's perspective on how we bring each episode to life. And the reason why I'm saying
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's your fault.
It's all my fault.
It's all your fucking fault, Ray. How did you ruin the whole show? We need to cancel it again. Again.
Just gotta fucking can it for another 8 months again. Just appear out of nowhere with
we need to
different
cancel
set of
again.
colors.
Ray, what the fuck did you do? And for those of you craving even more content, we got you covered with extra videos that you won't find anywhere on my main channel. And for our gold tier supporters, the main tier at our Patreon, we're offering access to our exclusive podcast series Live Gaming Gathering Extra, or LGG Extra for short. This is a show where my friends and I gather together to talk about everything from the video game industry to movies or anything that is on our minds. With more than 30 episodes already available, there's hours and hours of content for you to listen. Trust me, they are some of the most fun and amazing conversations we ever had, because it's just being us, relaxed and actually having fun.
Alright, I think we need to move on because we've been kind of on this subject for about the last 15 minutes now.
Yeah.
We got a couple of things in order.
Are you feeling better now? Let this
Yes,
team off.
I do feel better. Oh no, wait, one more thing. For example, Angela.
we
were in
I'm
discussion.
not gonna mention any names.
And trust me, you won't want to miss anything we discuss in the future. But wait, there's more. We also have another early access and ad-free show about Call of Duty called Lockdown Player. So if you're a fan of multiple franchises, we got something for you too. And of course, I believe in keeping our patrons informed. I also post monthly updates to let you know what to expect in the upcoming month, so you'll know what to expect in the future if you're not sure about the content we're posting. And because we're confident that you'll love the content we're creating, we offer a free trial that you can use anytime. We believe that we're making good content that will make you stay in the long run, and I will not be offering a free trial if I do not believe that. Battlefield 1 podcast was rebooted back in March 2023. We learned a lot of lessons from our previous shows that consisted of 41 episodes, and we've been building an amazing foundation for the future of this current show. There's a reason why we're the only Battlefield related podcast available on Spotify, and we had the honor being listened to by DICE developers themselves, and now we want to share even more with you through our Patreon. So if you want to support the show and get all these amazing extras, head over to patreon.com/TheLunkySoldier. Your support means the world to us and helps us keep delivering the content you love. Thank you for being part of our Battlefield community, and we look forward to seeing you on our Patreon. Now, let's go back to the show. So, he talked about this wannabe CT, we'll call it community program because he mentioned community program, so I guess we'll call it community program for now. It sounds like it might be coming out before the game releases, and I remember we had conversations back in actual CT back in Battlefield 4. I remember talking to, Kimo, Yoye, and others, and David. I remember talking to them, like, they all said, yeah, it would be fantastic to have CTE before the new game releases. Imagine the feedback and the data we can gather just from that. So maybe that's the way they're thinking. Maybe community program is gonna be like an access for people to play the game early that is not the beta. Oh, you can play this game before the beta and so on. And a lot of people, I wonder how they're gonna do this. Are they gonna individually invite every person to join the community program, or is this gonna be like a sign up type of thing? I hope not. I hope they.
I would hope they would do it. Honestly, this is the way I would hope they would do it. You do an open beta, open testing, open, everybody. Excuse me, every console, all of it. You do 2 runs of this. Everybody can join. Everybody can partake. Everybody can contribute. You, at the end of this, at the end of their beta, at the end of their session, or at the end of this run, or even hell, if you want to be that annoying, ask them at the end of every play session before they quit. Give a pop-up that comes up in the game to let them directly type some feedback in, okay, and send it directly to you guys. Send it directly to the developers, and go over that feedback. And look it over. Check over, if you do this and do it right, it'll launch spectacularly and work well. Now, the next thing is, don't tie access to community testing strictly to pre-order. premium package.
Oh, I hope not. I hope
or
not.
any kind of pay-in bullshit, because then it's really not community testing. It becomes pay to test. No. If you have access to the game, you have access to community testing. Period, point blank, end of story. When the game launches, then yes, you restrict CTE testing or community testing to people who own the game, the base game. Now, when it comes to DLCs and map packs and add-ons and stuff like that, if you have to buy that DLC, map pack, or add-on or whatever it is, you still let it run in the community testing environment for at least a set period of time. And then once that DLC hits retail, then if you want to, you can restrict it to whether you've actually bought the pack or not. But you let everybody have a chance to have a run at the maps and have a chance in order to put feedback in. If this is going to be done, it needs to be done right. And it needs to be done in a way that doesn't generate any bad faith or just seem like all smoke and mirrors. This needs to be done right. And collect the feedback. Let them do, how did you like the shooting? How was the match performance? How was the tick rate? How did everything feel? Ask these damned questions. Just put out a basic questionnaire if you have to, with some 1 to 5 star ratings. It doesn't matter. How was the gunplay this match? A 3 out of 5. I had some fucking rubber banding and shit. So, but you also give them the ability in order to explain their answers and everything at the bottom too, and actually give you feedback back. Do it and do it right. Don't just listen to a handful of people. Don't just listen to us. Don't just listen to the Westies and Jack Frags and shit. Listen to everybody. We had the man who wrote the book on this shit here the last episode. That right there is a masterclass on how to do community testing right. Period. But it takes a lot of work, as we know now. So if it's gonna be done, you gotta have the people to be able to do it. And you've got to have the right minds to be able to do this, the right mindset to be able to do this. And if all of that can come together again, if it can, I think this would be the best thing that would ever possibly happen for the franchise, in my honest opinion. But it needs to be done right. And it needs to be done in a way that is not a clear, blatant money grab operation, or, again, like I said, a giant smoke and mirrors where it's just, here's a little bit of fun with the new map before it comes out as a preview to hope you buy it. Because it will work that way naturally. You don't have to force that. It will do it on its own.
Yeah, that's my biggest fear, because I remember we talked on the last episode where I said that Battlefield 4 CT was like a testing ground, while Battlefield 1 was a preview for the upcoming content.
Yes.
And I hated how Battlefield 1 CT was run back then, because it was just literally a content drop early. It
was a shell of what it was.
Yeah.
It was a shell of what it was at the beginning. So, I mean, and not to say that, not that I really want to boil my argument down to this, to do it like it was done in BF4 and not do it like it was done in Battlefield 1, but at the end of the day, that's pretty much the argument. That's how it needs to be done. It needs to be done the way it was done right the first time and went the way it worked. And I mean, again, I say that knowing full well, definitely now how much effort went into that.
What? I think I'm trying to remember. Was there anything that actually significantly changed back in Battlefield 1 CT? I think it was like maybe in early days, maybe something changed from the feedback from the CT, and then that feedback was applied to retail. But majority of the time, I remember there was nothing. Like, majority of the time, it was just DLCs dropping early on CTE, play for a little bit, I record my footage, I make my trailer, I get all the YouTube monies, because DICE was not making trailers back then, so for me, it was perfect, sure. As a content creator, sure, but from a community point of view, or just like improving the game, nah. Battlefield 1 CT brought no value whatsoever, literally no value. Also, I remember, oh my god, I just remembered. So back in Battlefield 1, around how's the DLC with the boats and everything was called?
I can't.
Anyway, the third one, right? The third one with the boats. Turning
one.
Tides. Here we go. Turning Tides. Around that time frame, one of the developers, I remember his name is Alex, he was testing passive abilities, passive perks for classes. So, like, oh, if you have a medkit and you have it in your inventory, you can walk around and heal players passively as long as you're near them. And I remember loads of people lost their shit. That was this was tested on CTE, right? People lost.
Yeah, I remember this.
Actually, wait, no.
No, it wasn't that. It wasn't that. What it was is the players could run up to the medic and take a small med kit. The medic could throw a med kit at them, and it was the same was done with ammo. That was the first time that we had had the ability in order to toss small med packs to each other, or small med packs and small ammo packs. Like it's always been boxes.
Was it that? No, I remember something else.
I think it was
so
5. I think it's 5 is what you're talking about, where they tried doing that shit. Because then I remember it. You didn't have the ability to just run up and take ammo. You just, for some reason, every time I stood near a support player or a medic,
I know you can do
just
that
heal or get
5.
ammo.
Okay, but Battlefield 5 didn't have CT. That was on launch day. No, okay, I remembered. So this developer, right? He was making perks, right, for the classes, like stuff like that, right? That would make classes more interesting to play, like MOBA-like, right? Like if you're a medic, you heal. If you're an assault, you get some speed boost or whatever if you do something specific, right? So it was like a MOBA type of abilities or Call of Duty perks, whatever you call them, right? It's perks, right? It's passive perks.
Yeah.
And I remember there was a list, right, of those perks. And it was not in the game yet. It was not in CT yet. This was just an article. This was just a mention by developers like, listen, we want to add this into the game and we'll test it in CT. When people read through it, people lost their shit. What do you mean the medic can just heal passively without doing anything? Like, people lost that fact that the medics or the players had to do nothing to heal.
You know what the goddamn irony was about that? You really, and this is the funny, this is the ironic part about it. I remember for days on end, people used to bitch back in Battlefield 3 and 4. I used to remember all capitalized screams in world chat. Where's the ammo? Where's the fucking med bags? And they solved that problem, and everybody bitched about it. And that's another problem with the fucking community. Y'all don't know what you fucking want sometimes, too.
But there's a bigger story here. So because they bitched so much, DICE removed that ability from the patch for the CTE, so we could not even test that feature in CTE because people were screaming about it that it's fucking not Battlefield. I remember this now. So they made a feature, right? Those passive perks. They released the article explaining those passive perks. People
And
bitched.
plus their shit, yeah.
People bitched that it's not Battlefield. I don't give any casuals, easy way to do this and so on, blah, blah, blah. It never got released on CTE, so we could never test that feature in CTE. Yeah, the perks got released, but they were clearly dumbed down and more basic and useless because people bitched. People bitch without testing the fucking thing in CTE. And that's what I'm afraid
You know
about.
what's funny? I prefer that. I prefer the passive. I prefer the passive mechanic to the active mechanic. Now, the active mechanic of just being able to throw down an ammo box and it resupplies you more or faster or something like that to encourage people to actually throw an ammo box down or a med box down. Yeah, oh hell yeah. I'd be for that too. But man, the fact that, again, people complain so damn much about people not throwing ammo and not throwing fucking health packs down. And now all of a sudden, a developer's like, all right, well, I mean, I'll solve your problem for you. I'll just make it so that you could heal a certain amount or you could completely, whatever. And people lost their goddamn minds over it.
They literally lost their mind. They literally lost their mind that the medic had an aura around him of 2 meters or a meter where you could heal as long as you're not under suppress. As long as you're not under suppression, as long as you're not taking damage, you're not doing, you're fine. You're just standing.
Can't, it's not something that you could heavily exploit, and it had a cooldown too. So it wasn't like you could take and stand near a medic, get shot at, take some damage, perk back out around a corner, shoot back at him, and then come back around the corner, and then immediately start healing again. Like, no, there was a cooldown on that.
And he also encouraged people to stay together. But again, we did not have a chance to test this in CTE because people bitched. So now I'm worried about this future community program, whatever it is, for the next Battlefield game. I'm worried it's gonna be the same thing. So as soon as they're gonna have some sort of feature they want to test or whatever, people would bitch without even testing, and they'll probably not even include it because people bitched. And I remember what when you said like you can take.
I mean, that's the day and age we're in, brother.
Yeah.
Look at what happened with the Sonic movie. Like, the internet literally made a multi-million-dollar fucking movie studio go back and redo millions of dollars in fucking CG work. But at the end of the day, it was worth it because it was a wise decision in order to do. Now, in some cases, yes,
the company went bankrupt after that. Funny enough.
Yeah, oddly enough, funnily enough. But again, the franchise lives on. There's the third movie now that's out about it, So I'm not... It's hard for me in order to sit here and argue against that practice, but at the same time, say it really shouldn't be something that should happen in video gaming. It should be given... The community should have been given a chance in order to actually actively test that and have the chance in order to go, oh, I actually like how that tastes. Like the first time you tried broccoli. If there are people in this world who love broccoli, I'm one of them. There are people who fucking hate it. There are people who love cauliflower, and I can't wrap my head around that. I can't stand this shit. But you know what I mean? I don't think cauliflower should be banned across the fucking world.
Also, a really well done cauliflower can be amazing. I do know that. So maybe it's because
I don't
the way...
believe you, but whatever.
Well, maybe it's just the way it's made. I get that. Anyway, but that's the point. You never know until you test it. We had no chance to test it because people start to bitch, and I'm afraid this is going to be a repeat in this community program in the future.
No, it doesn't. They need to put what they need to do internally, and I know this kind of sounds shitty in order to say is we're not taking any feedback seriously at all. Period. Point blank. End of story. Until it has been put out in the wild. Then any feedback that we get after that date, we'll take seriously. Now, again, I know that sounds shitty. I know that sounds like a really shitty practice, but the reason why I say that is because you can get a lot of chaff out that way. Yep, because if you take feedback in from 2 weeks from announcement to test date, when it's actually going into the test build, you're gonna get a lot of chaff and a lot of nonsensical bullshit. Do you really want that?
Without playing, what happened. So remember when you mentioned about taking ammo from the medic, and there was a big controversy back in Battlefield 1, which was never implemented in retail? I remember when that happened. I think the medics, not the medics, supports, they kind of had a similar perk. So if you're around them, they just give ammo automatically, right?
Yeah, you could just pick ammo off of them.
Yeah.
You couldn't get grenades or equipment back or anything like that, or gadgets, but you could pick mags off of them.
I think you just have to be next to them or something like that. If they had the ammunitions box with them equipped. Yeah. So that was not implemented in retail, but because people bitched. But I remember after that bullshit that happened, they did a live stream, all right, this is the new build. They did a live stream, right? And basically addressing all the feedback they got. And saying, okay, you were not happy with it, we removed it, we improved that, and so on. We changed this, and so on. And I remember I was watching the live stream. I think it was Yoye's perspective. So Yoye Delonde, he was a developer at DICE LA. And he was one of the people that were responsible for Battlefield 1 CTE. Man of heart, he cares about Battlefield. But anyway, so people bitched, they removed, and he was just basically playing while someone else was next to him talking about these features or the next patch or whatever. And he wanted ammo on the live stream. He needed ammo on the live stream. And too bad I can't find it anymore. I need to find, maybe by some stupid chance I can find that live stream.
It would be great.
I need to find that live stream. I need to find the live stream. He needed ammo. And he was behind the player, pressing E on the keyboard to notify the support player, hey, I need ammo. I need fucking ammo. And he followed the guy on the fucking live stream. Yoye.
Yeah, I remember this. He followed him for a good 10 minutes almost.
He followed that player for a fucking minute, if not more, for him to give him ammo, and he still did not get fucking ammo. That player was fucking running from A to fucking D flag, and he just followed him, pressing E to give him ammo. While they're talking about, we listen to your feedback, we're not gonna implement these passive abilities into the support and assault class because we understand you want more manual interaction with the Battlefield game and so on.
When there's literally a reason it was needed
when this
going
fucking
on right
idiot,
there behind them. I know that
when
was,
this fucking idiot on CTE server did not fucking give ammo to the developer that was fucking spamming him in the chat room to give him ammo, and he did that on purpose.
But see, I mean, on the flip side, I think because you can't. Here's the thing: you can't like put a really intrusive warning in front of the player either, in order to say, hey, somebody needs fucking ammo, and that's why the passive collective idea was the best way in order to do it. So I mean, and in that case, Yo-Yo could have just ran up, grabbed a magazine or two off of that dude, and bolted off and did his own damn thing in like 35 seconds. Done, over with. What would have been better is that guy would have just thrown a damn crate down real quick.
But he did not. That's the fucking point.
But he never did it.
God,
but again, that just highlights what I said.
Mad.
The fact that they were like, "Nah, we listened to your feedback and decided not to do this, but because you want more interactive." And God, it just the stuff that writes itself. You know what I mean?
It's like that when I saw that live, I know Yo-Yo did that on purpose. He did that on purpose to follow this player and spam E because he was not happy that community was bitching about he's the developer, right? He cares about Battlefield. He wants the game
you guys
to be...
fucking, you like this? You guys like this,
you,
don't you? You like chasing this motherfucker across the map and jamming F all day.
That's what Yo-Yo was thinking back then. Like, fuck these guys, fucking morons. Let me just show you what you lost. And he was like... He never got ammo from that player. He never got. Even though he spammed it, he ran after that player, he never got the ammo. A DICE developer never got ammo on a CTE server because that fucking player is a fucking idiot. Here's the Battlefield game we always wanted.
I don't even want to say necessarily that's... I mean, in that case, the guy was probably just unattentive as shit. Because, I mean, that just falls down to...
Yeah.
Because the icon would blink on the minimap, too. Like there was a little ammo icon that would blink for a player who was calling for ammo, and I think that happened even in Battlefield. No, it didn't happen in 4. Did it? Yeah, it did. It did.
It did. Yeah, it did.
It did. Yeah, it did. It was a thing. That was a thing since BF4. So what that really means is it's not that the support player is stupid. Excuse me. Personally, what I think is it's inattentiveness. Now, maybe there needs to be a way in order to kind of help in order to kind of like grab their attention real quick when you command. If we really want to stay away from being able to collect ammo and medical off of support and assault respectively, don't put like a big fucking warning box right in front of their crosshairs because that's wrong. Because if that pops up in the middle of a firefight and I can't aim, oh my God, I will uninstall.
I want to say they will complain that it fucking covers their fucking screen and they can't see everything. No matter how. Yeah, they will complain.
Here's the consent, all right? Construction color bars, right? The slanted, yellow and black bars that you see at construction sites to warn things, okay?
Yeah.
But when somebody requests ammo and they're within a short proximity of you, like let's just say 3 meters, all right? That's, what, a couple of feet? I think, I don't know, I don't fucking know my metrics. I'm American. We use freedom units. But in my case, let's just say, like, if the player's like 10 feet away from you, okay? Which is like almost the length of somebody, a little bit more than the length of like 3 feet more than somebody just laying down, okay? Like, if they could lay down and be, within that proximity, then, they're close enough. Have border of the screen just like very subtly flash that, not like fast in order to trigger somebody's epilepsy or some shit, but like have it fade in and out, and then have the mini map act up a little bit too. Like make some shit weird, make some shit like make their own ammo counter. Just all of a sudden it turns into a big ammo symbol for about a split second real quick, so that way they can go, wait, what the hell? Oh, somebody needs ammo real quick, and then just press a button, and there you go. Now it's gone. And it doesn't intrude your gameplay either.
The only problem I see is in small maps where like literally clusterfuck maps or wherever there's like 10 players around. I can imagine it can be a little bit annoying.
Yeah, I can
when
see
there's,
how
like,
that would
loads
get
of players
crazy
there.
too. But what's the
Yeah.
difference between? But I mean, really, the edge of your screen blinking that. What I would say is if there's enough ammo boxes that are around in that area, then there's no need for that warning anymore. That ammo box would shut that off. I'm talking
would be a
about
bitch
like
to-
a notification. Like I'm talking about the situation where this would be needed is like a support player breaks away from a firefight and tries to like run a flank or something like that, and a couple people catch on and they go, okay, well I'm gonna follow this guy, but oh shit, I'm low on ammo because I was taking part in the main firefight. I need ammo. We're running down a hallway. And we're trying to, because if you call for ammo, your player character will scream too, and there's an auditory warning. It can give away your position too. So let's like do this like in a subtle way, more quote unquote futuristic. Okay, combos comes up. You say, "Hey, I need ammo." Your soldier literally just tilts their arm a little bit and presses a button on their forearm or something like that that's embedded in their warsuit, and now the support player gets a very subtle warning on the border of their screen, oh, hey, throw an ammo box. So now when they get to a cover point or when they get to a rally point or when they get to a point where they're getting ready in order to go run their flank or do what they need to do or go hit a flag, that dude knows to throw a damned ammo box down because he may not be looking at the minimap for anybody that might be following him. If I'm running a flank, honestly, my eyes are up and ahead. I'm trying to look and see what's going on and coming at me so that I'm not getting caught trying to run this flank. And I'm trying not to give my position away either because that's the point of trying to run a flank is to not alert your enemy.
I'm just thinking it would be a bitch to program that, to code that. I'm just thinking of like, if I was a designer, I'm thinking, how the fuck I would code that?
I really, again, I don't, I mean, it's just, I mean, there's ways to disable stuff within proximity and bubbles. I mean, you use the same proximity bubble. If there you can collect it, then it counts. That would make the ammo box collection radius a little bit bigger, but I mean, you could assign 2 radiuses to something just to have the notification radius be like, I don't know, fucking 50 feet. That's a pretty generally wide area. 50 feet, is the length of a good semi-trailer. So I would say that's appropriate for the notification bubble, and then the collection bubble is, okay, 10 feet, like it would be for on the player. Or if you want some, I mean, there's ways to do this where it couldn't be spammy and a nuisance-y. I mean, but again, it would take a lot of work in order to make it work and work right, as with anything in life.
Yeah, that's community program. Somehow we start bitching about players being morons. But yeah, I hope community program is gonna be with lessons applied. It's not gonna be like Battlefield 1 CTE. I hope. We'll see how that goes. And they go with the motto. Actually, we might as well talk about that now. So after this IGN article happened, right? The next day we have EA Investor Day. Basically, a day where EA basically tells investors, please invest into our company because look what we're doing.
Please give me your money.
Please give me your money because this is what we're doing. So everything they talked about Battlefield and about that section of the presentation is basically the same as it was IGN article, but with more, I guess, corporate, more details, I guess. And they go with this mantra.
More C-suite speak.
Yeah. They go with this mantra, for example, where they said, find the fun, right? So they talked about, like, this is how we approach the next Battlefield game in terms of development. We want to prototype, we want to playtest, and we want to get the feedback. So they were basically talking about the community program that we just talked about for the last 20 minutes. Basically, prototype, playtest, feedback. That sounds more promising than Battlefield 1 CT ever was. If they followed the idea that they're presenting to us. And we learned from that Investor Day that DICE is doing the multiplayer, Motive Studios is doing the single player, Criterion is helping with content for multiplayer and single player, and Ripple Effect is doing a new experience for Battlefield. And the guy that was doing the presentation was Byron Beatty. Now, I don't know if you remember if I ever mentioned to you the Byron Beatty guy, but I remember I talked to him about on the previous episodes. Byron Beatty is one of the creators for Call of Duty Warzone. So as soon as Call of Duty Warzone came out, like a year or something like that, he moved to EA. And I was thinking, okay, he is not doing anything. I haven't heard from him about doing anything at EA for 2-3 years. And now he's at the investors call, investors day, front and center as the group general manager for Battlefield. And this what people don't realize. What people don't realize what I haven't seen anyone talk about this. DICE is not in charge of Battlefield. This is not this next game. It's not a DICE game. DICE is just doing the multiplayer. Sure, that's the main part of a Battlefield game, but he's not in charge. They're not in charge. Byron Beatty is. Vin Zampella is. Vin Zampella and Byron Beatty. These are the figureheads. These are the spokesmen. These are the people, the game designers with loads of experience and success. Vin Zampella made amazing games. He made Apex Legends. He made Titanfall. He created Call of Duty, for fuck's sake.
Look, if I'm gonna stop you before you get too much further in because I know exactly where you're going with this. The problem with this is there have been some other things that have just recently happened in the gaming industry that could probably set a precedent that would change what you're trying to infer might be coming completely on its ass and on its head forever. Because I think I know where you're going with this. In some way, shape, or form, there's a possibility that something esque of Warzone will end up its way into Battlefield.
Well,
and personally speaking, I would think that would be awesome because Warzone pretty much is fucking Battlefield. Think about it, boil it down.
I did want to mention that. No,
you can't drive through a goddamn fence.
But the idea is, I just want to say that I'm gonna excite not because of this, like want to be Warzone, whatever in Battlefield. It's fine, whatever. It's not the point. The point is, I'm just excited that someone other than DICE is responsible for the main Battlefield title. I'm just happy that people with successes that actually made good games back in the day, Byron Beatty created Warzone. Then you have Vin Zampella.
I get what you're getting at.
Then Vin Zampella created, Titanfall, Apex Legends, Call of Duty. They made good games that people love to
The talent is here. The stars seem to be aligning.
And these are the people guiding this franchise for the future. They're the ones deciding which direction this franchise should go. DICE doesn't call the shots anymore. They like whatever shots they did Battlefield 5 and Battlefield 2022. Like here's the thing, DICE has the talent to be a great studio and make a great Battlefield game. But I think all of us agree they were misguided in the last couple of releases. They were misguided. So I'm kind of excited for the fact knowing that, hey, people with experience, people know what they're doing, people know what they made successes, and they work on the Battlefield now, they work on this franchise, and they, from what, like I said, the PR thing, what Vin Zampella said in that IGN article about Battlefield, like, yeah, we want to go back to the basics, we want to go to the roots, what made Battlefield great, and people talk about Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 being great. So he understands, and I'm pretty sure Byron Beatty also understands what makes Battlefield great. And from I've seen the Investor Day, like the presentation itself, also him, the group general manager of Battlefield. That's a title I never heard of since DICE is a thing. I never heard a title. They made a title for him that he's the guy responsible for the Battlefield franchise now. He's like, everything that you want to make in the Battlefield franchise now, you have to go through him.
Now has to go through me.
Yeah, it has to go through him. And just because of that, doesn't matter what happens with the leaked Battle Royale or the multiplayer section, wherever. I remember like a couple of episodes I said, like, I don't know if the game is going to be good. We don't know if the game is going to be fantastic or absolute dog shit. We don't know that.
Fuck, we don't even know what it's going to be.
We don't know what's going to be, right?
Besides modern. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all we know. We don't know anything else.
But I did mention those couple of episodes ago, wherever the game is, I think they will nail the presentation of the game. And from what I've seen so far from this Investor Day and the IGN article, these two people, they know what they're talking about, and I think the presentation of the game will be on point. Will the game be good? Different story. But the presentation, I think they got it. I think they understand, and they will go with that. And I'm just
right. But at the end of the day, it needs to be the opposite way around. the presentation needs to be good. I'm not gonna say that it can be. You can have a shit presentation in a good game and get anywhere with it, because no, that's dumb to say. But what I'm saying is the focus needs to be less on the presentation and more on the gameplay and the fun. I mean,
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
period. You can't. Yeah, cool. It looks pretty. Looks great. I can smash through things. I can do things. But if it's not fun, if it's not engaging, if it's not what it should be or what it's supposed to be, then you know what I mean?
Yeah, and speaking of gameplay, so because the EA was not only talking about Battlefield, they're talking about everything. For example, the big presentation of theirs was literally like AI. We're using AI as part of our development core or something like that, right? And they showed some I don't know how to describe it. So they showed a video, right? It was the most generic video about them using AI to make a level, how to make some sort of playtest, right? This is clearly not this is not how it works in person, because the way they showed in the video is like, oh, you just type what for the AI what you want to do, and the AI will make it, right? And from there you can like maybe improve it and so on. Like in the video, it looked very scripted, baked. Yeah. Clearly, this is not how it works. So anyone thinking like, "Oh, this is how it works," no, it doesn't. It don't work. It doesn't work like that. This was just for idiots, investors to realize how. Oh, look what they're doing. This is exciting. Boomers in their 50s, 60s, or 40s don't know what AI is or how game development works. They don't care. They just see fancy video thinking, oh, that's how AI works and everything. So they show this AI, right? Text-based AI, and they made a level, they made the characters, they made guns and everything, and Battlefield community looking at all that, analyzing how the animations for the next Battlefield game look, because they show the soldier running or character running with a gun in your hand, first person sure, and you shoot something and everything. The gun looks like really what's the word? Realistic, dirty, like you can see the scratches on the gun, and people over analyzing this, like, oh, is this what the alpha of the Battlefield is? Basically, this how the game is? This how the character is running? Is this how the gun looks and so on? And I'm like, people, you need to stop. You need to stop and over analyzing shit. I was watching this video, I was cringing how stupid it is, because clearly this is just a pre-baked video from old assets they have. It's just the running animation is literally from Battlefield 2042 or Battlefield 5. The gun is probably, yeah, sure, the gun is probably new from some unused model prototype. Well, like, it's a game development company. Of course they have assets. Of course they have running animations. Of course they have all this shit. They are a fucking gaming publisher. They make games. Of course they have assets they can reuse that you never seen in your life. And I was watching that video thinking like, oh, this is how the next Battlefield game looks. No, stop. They're still more than a year away from the release. Think this is not your alpha. This is not how the game will look. This is not how everything that is there is going to be in the final product. No, stop. This is just an investors video for idiots that want, like, thinking investing into EA. That's it. This is just smoke and mirrors. That's all it is. Stop over analyzing stuff like this. It's not bringing any positivity to anyone. It just sells some dumb hype, and people's like, well, I don't like how the animation looks. Yeah, no shit, because it's from our old game. It's from our old game. Stop. Don't over analyze this. But speaking of AI, the concept art was clearly, there was some clearly AI being used in the concept art, like in the middle or somewhere, like in the main frame of the picture. Yeah, maybe it's like touched up by a designer to make it look. It's concept art. Yeah, I'm not gonna look it deeply into that because it's concept art. But you can see, for example, the soldier in the shadow, like in the corner or one of the concept arts, and you can tell it was made by AI because the gun has, like, the M16, right? Rifle, and you have the, I don't know what to call it, like a thing on the front of the barrel. How's it called?
A
No,
suppressor.
no. The thing that is on the barrel itself, like on the M16, or it's like a triangle on top, like a metal thingy.
It's a the sight.
I guess. Anyway, it has two from both sides. Like one from the top, one from the bottom. It's clearly AI made because AI doesn't.
Oh.
Yeah, AI clearly doesn't.
Oh, so it gave it an underbarrel. It gave it an underbarrel barrel sight.
Something like
That's
that,
awesome.
yeah. So it's. I'm pretty sure a designer would never do a mistake like that if it was done by a human being.
Nah, hell no.
Yeah. So this is.
hell no.
It clearly.
That's what my argument has always been about AI. But I mean it. That's the thing though. Like you're giving up some control to software, and you don't completely control the results. So I mean, can you be expected to look over every square inch of it in order to touch up an AI? I mean, you know what I mean. That's why I think it should be like, instead of trying to touch up an AI generated image, you need to just use that as your concept and make your own based thereof of. Like, now if that would have been done, that mistake wouldn't have happened. Oh yeah, cool. We could put a little soldier there, or maybe a squad or two, or expand on this idea a little bit. But expand on the ideas that the generator is doing. Like Kimo said, use it as a damn tool, not the final, the final polisher.
Yeah.
You're still the creator at the end of the day. Even with using generative AI, and I know how much that sounds coming out of my mouth because I'm very vocally against it for vocal reasons. But just it needs to be refined. Like if you want to use AI for doing voice work, okay, maybe do it in order to figure out how you want your character to sound, and then hire the actor hire an actor based off of that in order to actually do it. Use it in order to make casting calls a little bit easier. Don't just outright replace you know what I mean. There's ways to go about using this as a tool and not the end all be all producer. So it right there again, that's a prime example of why I feel it should be done that way, instead of just we use the AI to generate the image and then we just go back and touch it up. Well, then shit like that happens because we're not perfect.
That's what happened here. Which, you know what? On a grand scale of things, I don't care. It's not a big deal. Because at the end of the day, this is just concept art in the background for people to sell the idea what the next Battlefield is. Like, you know what? It's fine. I don't give a damn. As long as the whole game is literally made with love and care, and then that's fine. I don't care. Concept art, I mean, I'm sorry, it might be a popular opinion, but like Kimo said, AI is not going anywhere. But if it's just used as a tool, just for a quick mock-up, it's fine. I don't care. And this was clearly a quick mock-up, which is fine. I don't really care. Because, guys, like I said, the game is like still a year and a half away, and people overnight analyzing this video of a guy running with a gun and shooting another player. It's like, oh, is this how the next Battlefield looks? Look how people literally think this is how the gun animations will look in the next game. I'm like, stop, people, enough. It's more than a year left of development and so on. Just stop.
It's a concept of an idea at this point. Just look at it that way.
But as EA says, like, oh, EA is is the very core of our business. You just have to remember. And let me read this title from this one article from 2021. EA calls NFTs and blockchain games the future of our industry in the earnings call. This is no different with AI. EA just goes wherever the buzz is coming around.
Aged like
exactly.
Milk.
They will say anything just to like. And back in the day, NFTs were really the hot thing. Like, oh wow, we should invest in NFTs. They're like, hey, boss, Mr. Mr. Wilson, please. They're investing a lot of money into NFTs, so I think we should get into that because it will be good for our business because we're trendy and we need more money. It's like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, NFTs, we love them. Yeah, blockchain games, they're the future. Yeah, please invest into our company. This is the same thing with AI. Yeah, everyone talking about AI. Every fucking company is like doing their own AI thing. Yeah, AI is very core of our business. AI is really important to us. And then they show this fucking mock-up video that was not made by AI, not made by some, how they showed in the video. This was edited, programmed, designed in, your 3D software by hand by someone, and they sold it as this how this is how our AI works. No, they sold you the idea how they think AI works.
Or how they want it to
Yeah,
work.
someone said like I think I don't remember if they said this how their idea how they wanted to make sure. But regardless, this is just buzzwords like for nothing.
The big problem with the generative AI right now is, from what I'm reading, is it's actually starting to poison itself.
Yeah, because
And it's doing it by skimming its own fucking artwork,
Yeah.
and that's what's wild, and it's making results worse in a lot of cases too. So, I mean, that right there should say it. Yeah, it's a good tool. I mean, on its own, when you feed it things that you want it in order to generate in order to help with again your concept, then I'm fine with that in some aspects. Like, okay, if somebody would go to a fucking generative voice, this is the only way I would ever accept AI generative voice use, okay? And this is coming from an actor. If somebody would go, well, okay, I kind of want a character in order to sound like, fucking Emperor Palpatine and fucking Bob from Bob's Burgers and a touch of Arnold Schwarzenegger, what would that sound like? And you throw that into a generative AI, and you could somehow manage to get that hodgepodge of way different vocal ranges to work and get something close to what you're after. Then you could take that clip and go on your casting call when you're trying to cast for this character and go, okay, guys, this is kind of what I'm after. If you could kind of get close to this bar or at this bar or wherever for an actor to use, then I would find that to be acceptable. Okay, and then you cast an actor who could do that and still bring life and their own spin and their own things to this character. That would be the only way I would accept it to be used. Same with visual art. If you're going to use it, then I would say use it in order to figure out what it is that you're after, how you kind of want it in order to look, because you can change the way things are framed and shot. You could keep the same concept and everything else and the whole nine yards until you refine it into what you're after. And then make your own image based off of that. That I accept.
Check the DMs. Look, it's that picture.
Yeah, I saw you post that as I was going. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like clearly AI.
There's
no way
100% AI generated.
Yeah,
all day, every day. I can see it. Like even the way that it handles effects and everything like that. It's very. It doesn't look natural at all. I can tell this is AI generated. It didn't even take me long. Bricklaying as well. The bricks.
I mean, yeah.
They change completely halfway through the wall in some cases.
Yeah, the way that I understand this is a concept art and area, but you can clearly tell.
But you could take this fucking image here and make it your own and make your own. Like, okay, I want to bring the helicopter in just a little bit more, and okay, now I can actually draw that palm tree swaying as a result of the rotors. I can make the rotors look normal. I could do a little bit more intricate pattern with the building and put some more detail into this. I could add, livery around, flags and more furniture and stuff. Shit that would make the generator take more time in order to generate this image. Tell it to not make what looks like a lever action with a goddamn really horribly kiltered fucking 3.5 scope on the ass end of it, and again the underslung end barrel sight. You know what I mean? And my dude looks like he's oh no, that's a second soldier with a bullet with a barrel there. I thought that was somebody. I thought he had a wacky stick hanging off of his back pocket there. But even you look at the body armor and shit too. Like I can tell helmet. Jesus, it looks like a piece of a piece of construction paper cut out. And it's very derivative too. It look okay. What is this? General city in Afghanistan helicopter landing? Cool. You know what I mean? This could be used as a base. I would, and even I, as an artist, as a former graphic designer, I would use the tool in this manner. But I would not just generate an image and go, this is cool as a multi-million-dollar company. By the way, what is the fucking random crosshair there for?
Oh, they do that in all the concept art they released.
Is Is this supposed to be like, oh, this is a cut corner of your HUD POV?
Maybe
You
I don't know.
HUD?
That's what in the H concept art they released. That crosshair is in every picture.
But again, you see what I'm getting at. Like it can be used. I do agree with Chemo in that regards. I do agree with a lot of people in that regards that it can be used as a tool, but not the final. It's not. It cannot be the final.
Yeah, but
it can't. It will never be good enough to do.
That's why like it's more than a year away from just any concrete presentation about the next game, or like when they like have the settings set in stone, like that presentation of the game. I understand this is just like early days. We need to show something, so I guess it's fine.
Like here's what I'll give another example. There's a video floating around on Star Trek subreddit where somebody went into generative AI and made like a 3.5-minute clip of what it would be like for Gordon Ramsay to be a chef on board a Federation starship. Okay, it's a wild fucking clip. And you can tell it's done by generative AI because it looks like fucking Gordon Ramsay's skull is half collapsed and he looks like a goddamn British bulldog. But I mean, you could take that and go, okay, this is kind of something along the lines of what I would like to do, and show Gordon and be like, hey, could we shoot this? And actually produce that and actually shoot that. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But if Gordon Ramsay would be like, no, I don't fucking like it, I don't like the concept at all, then you delete that concept and we don't ever do that again. Use in order to pitch movies. Okay, I want to do a movie. A lot of these concepts of like having like Futurama shot in the 1950s or 1960s or some of these more modernized movies being shot or made in what would be like Panavision eras. Okay, that shows a cool concept. If it seems like a concept that would be right enough in order to fit and do it, okay, well, why couldn't we make a 1950s era RoboCop just for shits and giggles?
Going back on
that's the application I'm okay with.
Yeah, I'll be fine with that. Going back on the Battlefield stuff, for the last 10 minutes, I guess, because it's been already an hour and 20 minutes.
Most of the people have left by now.
If you're staying, you better subscribe to Patreon. Just saying. But anyway, just mention that. So there was an article from again Tom Henderson. Whether you like him or hate him, he gets usually info correct, and he was talking about the ripple effect, the new Battlefield experience that they're making, which is we learned is being led by again Byron Beatty. The Call of Duty Warzone creator. And he basically said that, like, he just confirmed, like, yeah, it's modern setting between 2027 and 2030. The previous leak that we heard about a massive private military going up against NATO, so that's the setting for this game. Apparently it's still the thing. And apparently they're making a battle royale, which, again, got leaked many months ago. And apparently it's going to take, I haven't seen anyone mention that, but apparently it's taking place in USA in some tropical location. Is it Florida, my dude? Is it a Florida map?
Or are we just going to be in like South America?
Well, he specifically said USA.
Oh.
Not America, USA.
That could be the entire Gulf Coast,
I guess.
Even into Texas in some cases.
Would you consider that a tropical location?
What? Along the Gulf Coast?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Oh, hell yeah.
See, because he's British, I think when he says tropical, I think he literally thinks palm trees. That's what I'm thinking.
That's pretty... But, I mean, again, like, there's fucking palm trees all along the Gulf Coast.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, even up into Louisiana, down the coast into Texas. I mean, if there's a beach, there's probably going to be a goddamn palm tree not too far away, except for like up in the Northeast or in England or Europe. I don't know.
I mean, interesting location for a Battle Royale map. But I have a bigger question though. Do you think they will stick with 100 players, or they will stick with 64? I mean, of course, it depends how this Battle Royale works.
If they're gonna have like vehicles, and do it like actual Battlefield Battle Royale, then my honest opinion, I would think 64 players would be the appropriate amount. And the reason why I say that is because, again, vehicles. Having everyone have the option to spawn in a vehicle and have 64 of them on the map all trying to blow stuff up, I think that would probably be a good high-end cap there.
I mean, maybe.
I think 100 players and 100 vehicles would just... that'd be much.
Well, that's assuming that each squad gets a vehicle, something like that. There was this podcast, the Call of Duty podcast, right? And they talked about this Battlefield news. And I don't know where they got this leak. I think they got something wrong. So there was this Call of Duty podcast that talked about the Battlefield leaks and everything. And he said, like, that the way it is supposed to work, at least he thinks, or he read somewhere, I don't know where he got, I think he got something wrong. But he's like, you could take, you know how in Warzone you have your loadouts, right? You have your weapons with your own attachments and everything, right? So, apparently...
Your gunsmith customized guns.
Gunsmith and all that kind of stuff. But in this case, you know how Battlefield 2042 has the plus system? You can change attachments to your liking as long as you're...
Yeah, on the fly, which I actually like.
So, so he said, like, seems like the next Battlefield will have this, that you can change your attachments on the fly in the Battle Royale and everything, and I'm pretty sure he got something wrong, or maybe he's comparing to Battlefield 2042, because I never heard any leaks about that. I haven't seen... I'm pretty good at tracking leaks and what's happening around, you know...
We ain't seen shit.
I haven't seen anyone mention that, or anyone coming from anywhere about the mechanics of the game, because, again, it's like more than a year left, like more than a year until the game is, like, showcased properly. And I don't think any of that is true, but I do wonder how all of it's gonna work, but I guess we'll wait and see. And of course, doesn't mean the Battle Royale is gonna come out when the game is gonna come out too. Like, Warzone didn't came out for like 4-6 months after the game's release. You know, I can imagine Battle Royale section of this game, you know, of Battlefield, it's not gonna come out on launch day. I don't think it's gonna be on launch day, because I think it's like, they want people to play the multiplayer, you know, the single player, and like a month or two later, depending when the game is gonna come out, maybe 3-4, like, yeah, here's your Battle Royale. I can see that happening.
I would say, 2 to 3 months seems appropriate, especially if, you know, if CTE is up, community testing is up. That means, you know, gameplay balancing can be done a little bit more rapidly on the fly.
Yeah, that's actually true, yeah.
So that makes it, that puts the game in a better state for when Battle Royale is ready to go and launch and hit public. There won't be any balancing issues or any bullshit that really has to be worried about too much, other than just the map balance itself. Because if you can get the shooting and the gunplay down, then that's it. Do not do this stupid shit of changing how a gun handles per game mode. Don't ever fucking do that.
As in terms of
an
balance?
M4 is going to fire how an M4 is going to fire.
No,
doesn't
I
matter
don't
whether
think-
I play
I-
Battle
no,
Royale or fucking Capture the Flag. Don't do that shit.
No, I don't think they're gonna go that deep. If anything, it could be like maybe some balance changes with the numbers, but that's it. No, they're not gonna go that deep.
No,
Like,
the gun is going. The guns need to behave how the guns behave across the board.
It will be that, don't
That's
worry.
the standard. It needs to stay that way. Same thing with the vehicles. Don't change how the vehicles behave. Don't change how the planes fly. Don't change how the health of the vehicles or any of that crap. Leave it alone, because that's what needs to be. The core needs to be solidified, and the standard needs to be set, so that there's no more pissing about around it. Because that's what's been holding everything back. Is the constant having to like rethink things for everything. Just stop overthinking the shit.
Yeah, mechanically I think it's gonna be the same, but maybe abilities or something like that, you know, will be maybe something different or limited because it's a battle royale. I can imagine that. Apparently there's also a gauntlet type of mode coming with battle royale. So because you know you have your battle royale, which will be free to play apparently, and you have your other mode, which is basically some sort of squad mode where people can eliminate squads and so on, and then the round resets. That sounds interesting. Sounds exactly like one of those modes that was in Call of Duty Vanguard. There was like, I can't remember what was it called, but it was a really fun mode where you had to play with squads and you eliminate each squad from each round, and the round resets until you have a winner at the end of the day, because like 2 last squads left.
Could it possibly be called squad elimination?
Fuck knows. Fuck knows. I can't remember what was it called in Vanguard, but that sounded like exactly that type of experience. Which is fine. People, Call of Duty players
I kind
hate.
of like those.
Yeah,
Again,
yeah. Call of Duty players.
When you got a tight squad and you're playing your team playing really well. I mean, it works real well.
Call of Duty players hate it for some reason, but I personally enjoy that mode, and I'm kind of wish it was in Warzone because it's like a really fun mode. Like, yeah, it's a squad-based elimination type of mode where all squads are competing against each other and eliminate each other. Like, yeah, that sounds cool. I mean, played well. I mean, sure, it was a Vanguard, Call of Duty Vanguard, but not the point. It was like, it was a fun experience. So it sounds exactly like that. Will that be it? I don't know. Maybe with vehicles.
But I think we
and
need
so
to table this.
Yeah.
I think we need to like table this and kind of refine this because we said we were gonna wind this thing down a half hour ago.
Yeah.
That
But
being
yeah,
said,
actually, wait. But anything else to close up on the battle royale stuff? Because there's nothing much, honestly. Here.
no, I think if we're gonna talk battle royale again, and it just needs to be its own episode. I mean, because we can go on about what it should be for days and what would make it fun and what would make it what Battlefield would be at its core. That's
Actually,
a
yeah,
discussion
good
I'm
point,
more
good
than
point.
happy in order to have at some point, but not
point,
today.
good point,
We
yeah.
don't have the time.
Good point. Yeah, I mean we kind of discussed everything, all the investor day, all the basic stuff that was announced and so on, and I guess we wait for the next Battlefield news while we continue making podcasts and so on. Yeah, that's kind of it. So you wanna do the outro?
Yeah. That being said, good. Thank you guys for sticking around. Sorry for the extra bonus half hour. Maybe we'll
I'm not sorry.
That's what you guys
We're
want.
making quality
right?
content here.
You want more
We're making
shit?
quality content.
Be around forever. Anyway, so if you guys hung around this length of time, thank you guys very much. Follow us on the usual socials that were told at the top of the hour with the lovely ad breaks that we've had throughout this, which is nice because now I'm not obligated to try and remember them all. I can just say, the ad break, hit the Spotify, the YouTube, the whole 9 yards. I have been Ray, joined by my lovely, awesome host Thomas. Good night, everybody. Hope to see you on the next one.
Yeah, see you on the next one. Don't be a douchebag.